Joseph Parker's manager, the legend that is Dave Higgins, has basically accused David Haye of brainwashing Dereck Chisora into taking the Oleksandr Usyk fight rather than rescheduling the Joseph Parker fight. He believes that Haye is essentially trying to cash Chisora out because he doesn't believe Chisora can beat Usyk, and the inference is that perhaps Haye doesn't either. So let me give you some quotes here from the legend that is Dave Higgins. He says, "Don't play games with Chisora's head. Don't play games for 2 years with the British public. Don't play games with Eddie Hearn, who has always done right by everyone. Stick to your word, both of you, and give the fans what they want. Stop running away, trying to take another option because you think there might be a little bit more money. Chisora would probably lose to Usyk. He might make a little bit more money, but that's like a retirement fight. When you take a fight, you know you're going to lose for a bit more money. You're basically saying, I'm retiring. My message is, if Chisora and Haye choose to go with Usyk, they are putting up a white flag. Chisora is saying, I'm finished with boxing and I just want to take the money. But if Chisora is serious, he'll deliver what he's been crowing about. He'll fight Parker. He says he can beat Parker, then he can fight Usyk anyway. I think the fans are smart enough to see through Haye's maneuvering, his rhetoric, his Machiavellian posturing, and I feel a bit sorry for Eddie Hearn in all of this because he's putting on the big shows that people want to see." So those are the words of the legend that is Dave Higgins. It's funny that he's accusing David Haye of posturing, and he says the public can see through what Haye is doing, but isn't Dave Higgins doing the exact same thing? Because if he says that Chisora should forget about the Usyk fight because he's going to lose that fight and fight Parker instead, well, that is insinuating that Joseph Parker's an easier fight. That's insinuating that Dereck Chisora can actually beat Joseph Parker. Is that what Dave Higgins wants? His guy to get beat? Of course not. So it's just Dave Higgins posturing, trying to basically put pressure, trying to get the public to turn on Haye and Chisora so they put pressure on them to face Joseph Parker rather than Usyk. He's trying to make the Usyk fight look like an insurmountable task, a non-competitive fight, and therefore maybe, have the fans turn against that fight or turn off that fight and be more interested in the Parker fight. He has to do whatever he has to do. It's just ironic that he's accusing Haye of, playing games when really he's doing the exact same thing here. Now, it is interesting that Haye is so keen on Chisora taking the Usyk fight. But look, Chisora knows what he wants to do. I don't think David Haye can manipulate him into going into a particular direction. David Haye didn't want Dereck Chisora to be as heavy as he's been for his past couple fights. Dereck Chisora does what he wants. Dereck Chisora has said in interviews that he's had arguments with David Haye behind the scenes, okay? Dereck Chisora is not an easy guy to deal with for a trainer or a manager because he's so stubborn and hard-headed and wants to do things his own way. So this idea that Haye is manipulating him, you see, Don Charles has also accused Haye of manipulating Dereck Chisora. To me, it's kind of like, I was going to say it's a bit like Mike Tyson and Don King, but no, it's worse than that, because when Mike Tyson was with Don King, he was in his early 20s. Dereck Chisora is at least in his mid-30s. He's got far more life experience and business experience than a 22, 23-year-old Mike Tyson did. But the way that Mike Tyson fans carry on, it's as if Don King literally had Mike under mind control and forced him to fire Kevin Rooney and Bill Caton and all these other people, and that Mike didn't have anything to do with it himself. When the reality is, Mike was the boss of his own ship, and he chose to fire Rooney. He chose to fire Caton. He chose to clear out the people who were with him from the D'Amato days. He chose to do that. That was his choice. And that's a reflection of his character. Okay? Same with Dereck Chisora. It's not the first time that he's fired Don Charles. It's not like the first time he fired him is when David Haye came on board. No, he's left Don Charles before. And in the wake of getting knocked out by Dillian Whyte, he did it again. So Dereck Chisora is the guy making decisions in his team. You know, I mean, the fact that he hired David Haye in the first place shows you that he's the one making decisions, because everybody was shocked by that move, including David Haye himself. So I don't buy this idea that Chisora is being manipulated mentally by David Haye. I think David Haye can put ideas to him, yeah, but Chisora is going to come to his own conclusions in his head about who he thinks he can or can't beat. I'm sure David Haye and Chisora looked at the Witherspoon fight and thought that Usyk didn't look very impressive. Usyk, not noted as a puncher even at cruiserweight, never mind heavyweight. Dereck Chisora has been in there with some of the biggest punches in the game. So he probably fancies that he can just bully Usyk around the ring and mug him. Kind of do to Usyk what Salido did to Lomachenko, something similar. That's probably what's on Dereck Chisora's mind. And if he does beat Usyk, it's much more prestigious. A win. You know, people will be looking at it like, wow, you beat a guy who is on pound for pound lists. Whereas Joseph Parker, although he's a former world champion and he's a heavyweight, a career-long heavyweight, unlike Usyk, on paper, the Usyk win will probably stand out a little bit more for Dereck Chisora and pay him a bit more money, and he would inherit Usyk's mandatory spot with the WBO. Whereas with Joseph Parker, I'm not sure exactly where he's ranked, but I know he's not mandatory for any titles right now. So I can see exactly why they want to go for Usyk. They feel like he hasn't acclimatized to the division yet. He's not a puncher, and they might be able to get him while he's still trying to adjust to the weight. So, yeah, nice try, Dave Higgins. And as far as which fight I would prefer to see, from a stylistic point of view, I would actually prefer to see the Parker fight. Despite me calling Higgins out on his BS here, I prefer to see the Parker fight. I think it's more interesting stylistically. I actually do agree with Higgins that Chisora would lose the Usyk fight. I think he's got a better chance against Parker than he does against Usyk. But I still think the Parker fight's tough. Don't get it twisted. Parker is a guy we know who is susceptible to a bully in the ring. And not just from watching the Dillian Whyte fight, but even when he fought guys like Takam and to a lesser degree, Andy Ruiz. Yeah, when he fought Takam, he had some very tough moments in that fight where it was starting to look as though the water was a bit too deep for him and he was struggling to swim. And with the Dillian Whyte fight, we know what happened there. So even though Chisora's slower than Parker, slower of hand and foot, and he's a lot heavier, well, actually, we'll see what Chisora comes in at if they fight. But certainly in recent fights, he's been a lot heavier than Parker. We know Dereck is a tenacious fighter. When he's on his game, when he's 100% motivated and in shape, he is tenacious. And he will bully you. So that's what makes the fight interesting. When it comes to Oleksandr Usyk, obviously, all of his big fights have been at cruiserweight as a professional, but fighters have tried to bully him. Fighters have tried to take it to him. Usyk has overcome adversity at the elite level as a cruiserweight. And so people look at Dereck Chisora and they see him applying pressure to people like David Price and, all these other people. Go and have a look at Oleksandr Usyk when he fought Glavatsky. Look how quick the guy's feet are. Look how well he glides around the ring. You think you can just walk him down and apply pressure? Good luck with that. It's a lot easier said than done. I mean, look at Senad Gashi. He is nowhere even remotely close to Oleksandr Usyk's level. And Gaethje was able to evade the vast majority of Dereck Chisora's attacks. He didn't mount much of an offense in response, but in terms of just staying away from what Chisora was doing, Gaethje did it pretty successfully. What was that, a 10-rounder? I'm telling you, well, let me not say I'm telling you, but in my opinion, Usyk would be able to avoid Dereck Chisora's attacks just as easily, but then put some offense into place as well. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who would you like to see Dereck Chisora fight next, Joseph Parker or Oleksandr Usyk? My stance, just to clarify, is I can understand why they're going for Usyk. I see their vision in terms of going for that fight. But from a fan perspective, from an entertainment point of view, I suspect the Parker fight would be greater entertainment and probably more competitive. You know, I know Dave Higgins is saying the same thing, but he's saying it for a different reason. All right. Dave Higgins, I'm sure in his heart, believes that Joseph Parker can beat Dereck Chisora, and he doesn't want to miss out on that payday himself. He's on a percentage of what Joseph Parker's getting. So if Dereck Chisora goes in a different direction, where's Parker going to go? He's probably not going to get a fight for the kind of money the Chisora fight would pay him anywhere else in the immediate future. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.